So the last lesson of Spanish 2, it refers to the past tense preterite and the imperfect, okay? Past tense preterite and imperfect. So essential questions are these. These are the ones that we will have to be able to answer after this lesson. What is the difference between the preterite past tense and the imperfect past tense? Both of them are the past. Number two, when do we use the imperfect tense? Number three, how do you know when to use each of the tenses? Number four, if an action has a specific beginning in the past and an end, which tense would you use? Preterite or the past or the imperfect? Number five, using the preterite form of the verb empezar, which is to begin, how would you say the war began? Number six, using the imperfect form of the verb empezar, which is again to begin, how would you say the word began? Notice the same sentence, but one is with the preterite tense and the other one is imperfect. Number seven, using the preterite past tense form, we're using the said, the verb said. How do you say he was the president? The preterite of that. Now using the imperfect, the same verb said, which is to be, how would you say he was the president? So the same exact sentence. The difference here is the same verb. The difference is the tense. One is the preterite, the other one is the imperfect. Number nine, using the imperfect and the preterite structure the following paragraph. Jorge and I used to play soccer, but that day we didn't play. Okay. Oh, that was number 10. I'm sorry about that. Number 9 says the princess was sleeping when her mother woke her up. Using the perfect and the preterite structure the following paragraph. So we will discuss that today, how you can combine them. Number 10, same thing, combine both the imperfect and the preterite. Jorge and used to play soccer, but that day we didn't play. Jorge and I used to play. And the last one, using both imperfect and the preterite, how would you say the warriors were exiting the palace when the battle began? So these are the questions that you guys are going to be able to answer today. Now I'm going to try to find my cursor so I can actually get to, here we go. Okay, where did it go? Where did it go? Okay, sometimes.
Pete, wow, I just had the weirdest experience. You'll never believe it. I love weird experiences. Ok. Caminaba a la escuela y pensaba en Toño y Toña. Por teléfono, cuando recibí una llamada.
Okay. So,
What are you talking about? The only thing that would happen weird would be if they hadn't called you. You guys talk on the phone all the time. Gee, Petey, you don't have to be so negative. I mean, I still think it's pretty amazing. No, you are hopeless. Experiences, you're just weird.
all right, so they were describing things in the past tense, and he was talking about something that went on and something that happened. Okay, You see the difference between what I just said? Something that went on and something that happened. What is the difference? What do you think when I say stuff like that? Something that went on and something that happened. What is the difference between those two things? What? Any of you guys?
Um, oh yeah, well, it has no like complete end time.
Correct.
It just happened. You don't know when or how.
Mhm. Exactly. Something that went on, that was going on during that time, was developing, right, in the past tense, and something that happened, something, an event that happened.
With the like specific beginning and end.
Correct. That's correct. Now, that's what the imperfect, that's how we are going to mix them both together because we use them in regular, uh, when we speak, we use both the past tense and the preterite. We just don't think, oh, I'm going to use the preterite right now, and then we're going to use the past tense, the imperfect. We just do it, right? All right, so let's analyze it a little bit. It says English has only one simple tense to describe events that happen in the past tense. The Spanish uses two past tenses, the preterite and the imperfect, okay? You have learned two verb forms used for the past tense, the preterite and imperfect. How do you know when to use each one? He says, here is how. To decide whether an action had a specific beginning, like Neil says, and an ending, use the preterite. If an action started and ended at a definite time. Now, for example, if I said to you, the war began in 1846, that we're talking about that specific a war. And if you have the date, you have the time, then you use the preterite. Now, if you don't, then you would use the other, the perfect. It says right here, la guerra empezó en 1846. Now, Santa Ana, that's the last name of this person, fue presidente de México. Santa Ana was the president of Mexico. So we're talking about this event. La guerra empezó en 1846. Santa Ana fue presidente de México. The war began in 1846 and Santa Ana was the president of Mexico. We're talking about specific thing that happened during that time period, okay? So you use the preterite, something definite. The news that are given to you are given to you in the preterite because for most part, they're describing something that happened, one specific event. Last night around 11 p.m., there was a big, huge storm in the northeast that caused a trailer to derail from the highway, creating a fatal accident. That actually happened. I actually saw that news given to us on the Weather Channel. So we're talking about, did I say what I'm talking about yesterday around 11 o'clock, right? I gave a specific time. Therefore, it is the preterite. Now, if you're just describing things that happened in the past, but you don't have the specific time, and then you're just using this series of events as background story, then you use the imperfect. He says here, use the imperfect to talk about past actions without saying when they began or ended. Los guerreros no tenían miedo del enemigo. The warriors were not afraid of the enemy. El ejército peleaba valientemente. The army fought bravely. That's what I mean. So here, there's no specific time. They're just describing things that happen. Therefore, you use the imperfect. Okay. Now, just to remind you, the imperfect is those verbs that end with aba for AR verbs, and ia for ER and IR verb. Remember the tortilla verbs, the blah blah blah. That is the imperfect. That's why he says here tenían and peleaba. All right, now how we combine them. You can apply both tenses to talk about two overlapping events. The present for an action that occurred, and the imperfect for what was going on during that time period. Cuando la guerra terminó, when the war ended, this is the preterite, Santa Ana era presidente de Mexico. Santa Ana was the president of Mexico. So what was going on during that time is that this person was the president, right? So that would be imperfect. And the main thing, the main event of it should be in the preterite. So it's like anything that's going on during that time period that doesn't have time is imperfect. And the main thing on the story is the preterite. Okay? So listen to the story. I was walking down the street, minding my own business, smelling the beautiful morning flowers, looking at the sky, hearing the sounds of the beat of the sound of the singing of the birds. When a piano fell on my head and killed me. That's the story, right? Now, what events of that story that I just told you would be in the imperfect?
I was walking down, smelling the song.
Correct. What was going on, right? Walking down the street, smelling the roses, listening to the birds, right? Feeling great. That's the main thing of that story. The shocking part would be the preterite. Piano hitting my head, killing me, right? That's it, done. So that's how you combine them, okay? Children's books are written like that as well. When you hear once upon a time there was a princess living in a castle, and she was prisoner of a dragon, and she had never seen the outside world until one day a knight showed up and saved her. So the main event was that knight coming out there to save her, right? That would be the preterite. Everything else, being stuck in the castle, prisoner, and whatnot, it's imperfect. So anything that is a background story in the past tense will be the imperfect. Main events in the story will always be the preterite. That's how you combine them both. One last note, it says, note that you use the preterite of ser, fue, to say that Santa Ana was one president of Mexico. Would you use the imperfect of ser, which is era, to say that Santa Ana was president during an unspecified time period? All right, so with this in mind, that what we're gonna do is we're gonna overlap this these two tenses. I'm gonna complete activity 12 from page 209. Activity 12, 13, and 14. I'm not gonna ask you to do activity 15, but if you like, you can. Okay, so it's 12, 13, and 14 from page 209 and 210. So here, in page 209, we have activity 12. Indica qué hacían estas personas cuando los enemigos llegaron. El emperador regresa al palacio. Los enemigos llegar al emperador regresaba al palacio cuando los enemigos llegaron. So here is telling you who's doing the action. Tell what people were doing when the enemy arrived. So you gotta combine them both. Okay? So here's to tell you who's doing the action. El emperador is a person, it's he. Regresar al palacio, return to the palace. The verb is regresar, to return. And los enemigos, the enemies, llegar, they arrive. It's an AR verb, right? So you have two verbs. One of the two verbs is going to be in the preterite, and the other one is going to be in the imperfect, okay? So here